I see it. Wow.
Refinish.
So, Tony, after this, should we just throw it in a freezer and get some checking on it, or what?
There's no room in the freezer. I would do that. It'd have to sit overnight, though.
In the freezer? You just need one of those deep freezers to fit in there.
Yeah, I'm not I need a new shop. That's what I need.
So when you check guitars, will you just clear out your freezer?
It's not my freezer, it's somebody else. But in the past, I didn't have that much in my freezer. Just shove the body in there. You need a full size freezer to set back in it. I think it was really easy. Just kind of the bolt buttons. It was fun.
Here's the neck, refinished in Nitro. That goes up next. I like that we can actually see wood grain if we look at it from the side. Because before it was as thick as a credit card. Hey, Tony, if somebody has an American Strat, just like a standard one, and it's got a bunch of those surface swirls, if they put it on one of those, would it buff it out?
I don't know, I have to see it. Polyurethane is like easier to buff.
So if it is a poly finish, it would be easier to get it out?
Yeah, you still have to do all that sanding and everything. It's so hard to... It's why, Nitro needs cure time. It's so too soft.
How long did this one cure for? A couple of weeks, right?
3. It's probably still a little soft. Tell you the truth.
Even though it's been pretty dry here.
That's just
Yeah.
the nature of the beast. That's why you can't really expect your guitar back in a day.
Sure. Unless you're going poly.
Unless you're doing poly, yeah. And next day, sand it down and...
So your opinion is that Fender went to that because the turnaround time is so fast with poly.
Show me a Nitro cheap guitar.
Right.
darn it.
So if you were spraying this guitar from scratch in poly, what would be the turnaround time before you could start sanding it like this and buffing it?
Like 4 weeks, more than a month.
For a poly?
Oh, for a poly?
For a poly, yeah.
No, shoot it one day, dries off, sand it, buff it, you're out the door.
So you could do it the same day? The next day.
Still need.
How much cure time before you can handle it?
I mean, it takes a couple of hours, but yeah, you still need a night.
Okay, so 24 hours as opposed to 4.
Catalyzed too, so it's chemical. This is just air. This is air dry, air pure.
So it sounds like you'd have to see it, but it's more likely that you could get rid of those swirls if it's poly, and you'd have to sand it and then buff it. So like wet sand, like you were doing over there.
Yeah. I don't know if these are scratches or compound.
Well, no matter what, the back plate's going on there because of the battery.
Yeah. Action. See, this is what I thought these sucked. I did wear a mask. These polys and compounds all over.
So there's going to be another round of wet sanding, or you think this is sufficient?
Nope, this is done.
So just throw a little McGuire's on there, or what?
3M swirl remover. You can use McGuire's. It has to be the swirl remover. You can't use the compound. Just getting rid of that.
Yeah.
Coffee compound on there. Get rid of it. Just gets rid of whatever compound is left on.
And then I can throw it in my freezer. So you think overnight in the freezer would make it just check like crazy?
Yep, and you hit it with a hair dryer.
Oh, and when you pull it out, is
Might not cured long enough though.
Yeah.
See, nitro has this little funny thing. If you don't let it cure off for at least a month, possibly a little bit longer, you can check it, come back 3 hours later, and it melts back into it. They're there, but really fine. It'll look like it hasn't even been checked.
So what do you think, though? So you don't think we got enough curing time for that?
2 weeks. I would tell people let it sit for at least 3 months.
3 months, huh?
If they want to check it, I'm like, yeah, 3 months. Give it 3 months. In 3 months, stick it in your freezer. Sit it overnight. Pull it out. Get the hair dryer. And just watch it. Or you could shock it with canned air upside down, but it doesn't look that great.
Mm-hmm. So the freezer technique you prefer?
It gives it more authentic. It's slow.
And so when you go hair dryer, you're just going like side to side?
Yeah, just put adding heat to it. It's basically you're speeding the process of somebody going to a gig in frickin' Michigan and leaving their guitar in the car overnight and bringing it home into the house. And it's going to check. But that's, I don't know. And then there's, of course, just the expansion and contraction of years of the wood. And it'll eventually just check the finish. If you want to wait that long, which usually it doesn't take that long.
So how much of a risk is it if you get it too hot and bubble up the nitro? So is that why you use a hair dryer instead of a heat gun? So there's more of a margin.
Yeah. Yes.
How close would you get to it?
High and warm settings. Good.
So what do you think, Tony? Best finish you've ever done? We're putting you under some pressure here.
I know I do good finishes.
I know you do
I've seen
too.
Other people's finishes.
So is this always why there's kind of like white stuff? Like when you open up like a fender, it always kind of has like that white residue. Is that from the buffing compound? They just leave it in there?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep. There's all that shit inside to pick up evidence.
That's not for the tone?
Yeah. It's more of this. Well, I tried to get these. It's just hard to get that buffing oil to hit it.
I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah, I know.
I like it. I like the tone residue.
It's under the Pickguard. Nobody's gonna see it.
What's your thoughts on varnish finishes, Tony?
I never use it. They're probably just fine.
So would you call yourself varnish curious?
Yeah, I don't want to do anything. I like using the spray gun. I think varnish you need to kind of put on, just wipe it on. I don't know. Not really curious about it. I mean, honestly,
I'm sure the furniture guys next door know all about it.
yeah, they do. They spray it on. It's a different thing. Guitars is like, they're like painting a Pinto at Earl Schreiber, and I'm doing a fucking custom paint job. What's that dude's name? Did all the 60 stuff, Batmobile Barris or something.
Oh, I don't know.
He was like the original hot rod custom car. Did the Monster Mobile.
So not like Earl Scheib.
Not a $200 finish.
Is that how much it was back in the day?
I think they're still $200.
Really?
Yeah, that's why they paint all the weather stripping and everything.
That's right. It's like Mako.
Yeah, they tape up the windows barely, and now everything's all fucked up.
Wonder if you could just take a guitar body to Mako. It looks pretty shiny. See your reflection in it?
Notice how it doesn't look as plasticky either.
No, it doesn't. And in seriousness, like, you know, I remember we pulled out Nico's Jamba Juice gift card, and it was as thick as the polyurethane on this thing.
No, it's got it looks like, it looks warmer. I don't know.
So do you think that there's gonna, when we retest the audio, what's your prediction, Tony, as to whether this will?
I think you'll get more sustained, you'll feel more vibration in your body. It'll change the sound of the guitar.
You didn't buy into my Pickguard theory.
No.
Because I'm just thinking,
You might get some better highs, maybe more note separation, distinguishing, you know. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Somebody says here that Mako does paint guitars.
Probably do.
Wow.
Fucking paying money.
So my theory though, Tony, is that there is going to be some sound of the pickguard, because if you're thinking everything has a resonant frequency, right? Even if you like loosened your pickguard and you have like a more of a microphonic pickup, there's going to be more vibration there between like the pickup, the back of the body cavity.
I don't know. Gotta try it. I don't know.
Thinking even pickguard material like single ply. Like if you put like a big rubber grommet between the pickguard and the body, maybe that would eliminate some of the resonant frequency there.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
I mean, it's not something I'm willing to try, but I was just thinking, you know, what if
Why? Rickenbacker does it. I don't know why.
they goes between the body and the pickguard?
Yep. And the pickups.
So you're saying that they're allergic to tone? Just want it,
No,
just want it dead.
That's the way they do it.
Have you seen like a lot of?
Pickups sit on a couple little grommets.
What about all those guys that are into the rubber bridges? Have you seen that? Even our mutual friend at Oakland Guitars, he has a rubber bridge on a Jaguar or a Jazzmaster.
Oh no, that's a foam. That's
No, but he has like a rubber insert now.
I know. That came that way.
So what do you think about
It's
those?
a string mute.
So you can get all those like kind of surfy like staccato tones.
It's basically, it was dreamed up as a difference to if you do want to do a palm mute.
Oh, I see.
Put that on there.
Right.
It's just basically a string mute.
It's the same as like what you'd find on like
It's
the
palm muting. It was a pointless thing to put on because everybody was doing that with their palm.
Right.
That's why if you look at a lot of Jaguars and guitars that had those, they're not there anymore.
the Bass 6, didn't that have it? The
Jazz Bass had them. Yeah, people took them off because it was like fucking ridiculous. I mean, not everything Leo did was great. He wasn't even a guitar player, you know? So I was kind of like, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. And everybody took them off.
What do you think Leo's biggest technological like advancement was?
I don't know. Probably, I don't know. His amps. I think he was kind of like the amp pioneer. I mean, he had amps before then, but I think he just kind of made it, perfected it. And, you know, I mean, you can argue with the Stratocaster adult. And, you know, Jazzmasters and Jaguars, those things couldn't give those fucking things away at one point.
And now thanks to the hipsters.
Thanks to the hipsters. You gotta be different, man. It's like, you know, that's fine. I mean, they're not good, fine guitar, you know, they're good guitars, you know. Some of them, like anything.
So do you feel like when you play a
I wish
Jazzmaster?
I bought a shit ton of like Jaguars and Jazzmasters when I was 17, and I could spend $100 on them and $75. You don't know how many were sitting in music stores completely. Nobody would buy them. Custom colors, headstock, painted headstock, matching headstocks, fucking tons of them.
I think that they look cool. They had
Yeah.
the tortoise guards on a lot of
Remember,
them.
like Jaguars would like, man, you'd pick one up for $75.
Really?
Yep.
Do you think that they need to have big
$75,
strings?
Nobody wanted them in the 70s.
Do you
That's when I
think
started
do you think they need big
reading.
strings to get them to behave right? Because they kind of have some tuning issues when you start to use
Yeah, it's
like.
'cause just put a mastery on it or a stage trim.
Is a mastery a retrofit on any of the vintage ones, or do you have to do some drilling?
No, they fit. I think you can get because all the Mexican stuff and the Squire is metric,
Okay.
so you have to get that particular bridge. If it's American, it's all standard.
Okay.
So it's.
But I presume mastery makes like a Mexico retrofit or something like that. That's metric.
Yeah. I mean, anything like that. The problem with it is the little height adjustments, the studs that go on the bridge, they were very small. They didn't fit in the little thimbles it goes into. Every time you do that, the bridge rocks back and forth. So it's like even setting one up, you can, you know, I just set one up, a vintage one. I was like, hey, I set it up, I intonated it, the bridge is already back.
Was this Johnny's that you were setting up?
No.
No?
Somebody else's.
But you repainted that one that Johnny has, the metal flake one?
Yeah.
Or the can, or the sparkle finish?
The sparkle finish.
That one's cool.
So yeah, I told the guy, you know, hey, you know, when you change your strings, a lot of people just pull all their strings off. Make sure you push the bridge back, because if you go forward with it, which is almost, man, more than 1/8 of an inch, the guitar's not intonated anymore. So you have to, like, with like a stay trim, there's the mastery, there's this other one I tried to do. I didn't really like it that much. I can't remember the name of it. It was okay. It was better than the original. But anyway, they sit in there, and it's like they pop in there. It's like they're snugly fit into the thing.
Is this the same process, by the way, Tony, that you're going to do to the neck?
No.
No? That's all done by hand?
The next, because you wanted it all satiny, is
Yes, sir.
it's going to get scuffed with like freaking 3,000 grit or 2,000 grit or something. Probably 3,000. That's makes it easy on me. I don't have to do all. So it's just going to be satined out, basically. I can do this. I guess I can. Let's do it again. Can never get the fuzz and dirt off.
Just so you know, I'm not really that particular about the finishes. That's usually why I end up getting the relics. It's not so much that I think that they look better or sound better, although I think that they do sound better.
Yeah.
I just don't want to have any concern around nicking up a new guitar.
Yeah.
That's why after a few months, I'll probably will throw the body in the freezer.
I don't even like care. I used to be like, when I first started playing, it was like, oh, I got a scratch in it. And I started playing in a working band, and I didn't give a fuck. That guitar hit the stage, it got tossed, got dropped.
So do you think the neck will need a shim with the?
No,
that's what we got.
that's what that little
that
thing.
adjustment's there for.
Yeah. So pop that back in after I get this. Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think that thing was even engaged when I took it apart.
Do you think it's gonna need more of that once it goes back together because of the thickness of the finish?
No, because it's not affecting the neck pocket. I mean, might be maybe on the neck because it's going to be some of that poly. They don't really do real thick finishes on the necks. That's one thing they don't. They don't do. They're not super thick, like the bodies.
Well, I have to say this is quite a transformation, though, from even 30 minutes ago.
Just polishing it. All right, that's done. Lunchtime for me.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, Tony.
Yeah, probably. I mean,